Stephanie gets engaged to Ben after 6 months of dating. Her sister Tracy is also engaged to her longtime boyfriend, Preston. While visiting their family's vacation home, Ben struggles to make Stephanie's dad, Robert, like him. Stephanie informs her students that they will explore social customs next semester. She's an anthropology professor, giving a lecture on the first recorded marriage contract, 4,000 years ago. She jokes about how things have changed since then. She explains that marrying for love was only accepted during the Enlightenment. They all get distracted by music coming from outside the class. They watch Professor Larson, or Ben, playing it downstairs. When he wishes Stephanie on their anniversary, she asks him to wait for her to join him. They started dating 6 months ago. Ben knew from the moment she spilled coffee on him that she was the one. When he asks her to marry him, she instantly agrees. Stephanie doesn't care if the ring is loose and loves it. Ben is nervous about the kind of swimsuit he should wear to Stephanie's parents' vacation house. He has only met them for 5 minutes in passing, so he's very nervous about spending the summer with them. Stephanie assures him her dad will love him after a few rounds of golf. Ben has never played golf in his life and wonders if he should get lessons. He has packed too many sweaters for Palm Spring. Stephanie takes them out to make space for a magazine he is obsessed with. He asks her not to make fun of James Quincy's article on emerging markets, which is life-changing in economics. Stephanie feels bad he got passed over for the teaching job at Oxford with James. Ben is still glad he met Stephanie and celebrates her as an almost tenured professor. He's proud of how hard she works. He knows she's superstitious about the ring being loose. He insists he didn't want to ruin the surprise by asking for her size. Stephanie knows that the ring not fitting was considered a bad omen in 16th century Persia, but she understands it's a myth and isn't worried about it. Stephanie's dad, Robert, calls to ask her about dinner. Stephanie assures him they'll arrive in a few hours. Her sister Tracy and her boyfriend Preston are also running late because of their delayed flight from San Francisco. Robert tries to tell her something, but is unable to. Robert's wife, Eleanor, is sure the girls will understand why they're selling the house. Robert is retiring soon, and they want to travel more. Robert knows his daughters love this house, so he wants to tell them the news in person. Stephanie describes how Robert used to take a month off from the clinic so they could all spend the summer at the vacation house. Stephanie has taken her first steps there and remembers a fun jamboree on the 4th of July. Stephanie suggests getting married at the vacation house on the 4th of July next year with fireworks. Ben loves the idea if that's her dream. Eleanor is very excited when they arrive and asks them to follow her. Ben wonders if Stephanie told her about their engagement. Stephanie hasn't mentioned anything but assumes her students might have posted it on social media. Tracy looks pretty excited about a soon-to-be wedding. Stephanie asks who told them about her engagement to Ben. Robert is surprised they're engaged when they just started dating. Tracy explains that the champagne is for her and Preston, who are also engaged. The two couples congratulate one another, but Robert wonders how long it has been since Stephanie and Ben started dating. Stephanie knows it has only been 6 months since they met, but she feels like they both already knew each other right away. Tracy and Stephanie discovered that they both got engaged last week. Ben thanks Robert for inviting him to his home. Robert insists Stephanie invited him while he didn't protest. This is awkward. Tracy breaks the silence by asking to see Stephanie's ring. Tracy insists she and Preston want to get married at the vacation house on the 4th of July that summer. Stephanie also shares her plan of getting married on the same day next year. Tracy explains that Preston's grandmother is getting older, so he wants her to be at the wedding this summer. Robert hints that it's too soon for Stephanie and Ben, but Tracy toasts to both of them being engaged. Ben knows her parents are not happy about them. Stephanie assures him it's just unexpected for them. Ben wonders if it has anything to do with the fact that Stephanie was engaged before too. Stephanie assures him that was a long time ago. Tracy and Preston dated for 10 years before getting engaged. This is why she thinks her parents aren't used to things moving so quickly. Eleanor asks Ben to feast on the waffles and pancakes for breakfast. She explains that the girls couldn't decide between the two when they were little. This is why they always have both for their first breakfast every summer. Tracy is distracted by the wedding planning with just 4 weeks to go. She gives them instructions like the lawyer she is. Eleanor explains that Preston and Robert left early to play golf at the club. Ben assures her he doesn't mind because he knows nothing about golf. Tracy thinks he'll have to learn it now that he's engaged to Stephanie. That could be painful. Tracy starts handing Stephanie tasks for the day, including ordering invitations and the cake. They agree to go with Frankie's Bakery. Tracy and Stephanie want the cake to be layered in the colors of the 4th of July. Since Stephanie's dress will be blue, she can also bring something blue for Tracy. Eleanor pours extra coffee so Ben can keep up with the sisters. Stephanie is excited about using Tracy's list for her wedding. They run into Anna Kim, her parents' real estate broker. She's excited because she has the first offer on the house. Eleanor and Robert mentioned that they wanted to share this news since last night. When they both announced they were engaged, it threw them off. I can't blame them. Eleanor explains that they want to travel the world after Robert retires. Robert shares how they married too young, after which he went to medical school. The girls also came along after that, and now he wants to enjoy the time he has. Stephanie understands this and doesn't want to take away a good opportunity for them. Eleanor offers to put off selling the house for a year so Stephanie can also get married there. Anna insists they shouldn't miss this offer from the buyer who wants the house by the end of the summer. It's over the asking price, and they're never going to get a better deal. Ben also knows they could save on the property taxes if they sell now and have their retirement fund. Stephanie agrees with them all and knows she will have to find another venue for her wedding. Robert also insists they should take their time before they marry. That's not subtle at all. Stephanie knows they will have to make Tracy's wedding the best one yet. Stephanie is distracted as they choose the card designs. She is still shocked about the house because she imagined her kids growing up there. Stephanie likes one invite in her favorite color, purple. She explains how she used to wear purple hoodies every day in middle school. Ben is surprised he never knew her favorite color. She's also surprised to learn that he likes orange. Stephanie is excited to see Frankie at the bakery after a long time. Frankie has heard about her parents selling the house and feels terrible. She still makes Ben try one of her delicious free samples. Stephanie explains that they want a cake for Tracy and Preston, who got engaged around the same time. Frankie is booked for the date, but Stephanie asks her to think of little Frankie. When she goes to check her order book, Ben wonders what that is about. Stephanie explains that she promised to name one of her kids after Frankie. Ben is surprised she wants 5 or 6 kids when he just wants 1 or 2. He has been an only child in a small family. Frankie agrees to move things around to make time for Tracy's wedding cake. Stephanie doesn't know where they can have their wedding yet. Ben gets an email from James about the guy they hired dropping out. They're now considering Ben's application from last year. Stephanie is excited about him having a shot at his dream job at Oxford School of Economics. When Ben mentions they can move to England, Stephanie points out she can't when she's about to make tenure. Ben feels bad about jumping ahead and explains that he applied before meeting her. She doesn't want him to miss out on a huge opportunity either. Ben doesn't want to assume anything until they make him an offer. He knows there are many better people in line. Stephanie doesn't think anyone is more talented or hardworking than him. Tracy is excited about her wedding dress, which fits like a glove. Stephanie fills her in with information about all the progress she and Ben have made on the cake and invitations. They get called for dinner, where Robert brags about his slow roast method for the ribs. When Ben asks about the fire extinguisher so close to the grill, Robert explains that they are always careful. The sisters used to love roasting marshmallows as kids. Stephanie was known to be a troublemaker. She gave all of Tracy's dolls a haircut and jumped off the roof after watching Mary Poppins. Her parents remember Tracy as the responsible one. Ben wonders how Preston and Tracy met. Preston explains that he showed up with the wrong textbook during his first law school class. Tracy watched him feel hassled and handed him the correct book. Tracy had carried an extra textbook since she didn't know from which edition the professor would teach. Ben claims it was love at first sight for him too, when Stephanie spilled coffee on him. Stephanie loved that he wasn't upset, but Ben reminded her she dropped iced coffee on him. Robert describes how he met Eleanor in 2nd grade. He only asked her out after knowing her for 9 years. They got engaged 22 years after knowing each other. Eleanor also loves that they built a solid friendship first. She still feels everyone's story is different, and they shouldn't be judged for it. Ben finds Tracy and Preston working on the seating chart the following morning. He notices an old photo of when Tracy was 17 and Stephanie was 15. Preston is sure his childhood was more awkward with braces and headgear. Preston is worried because his cousin, Timothy, is not coming to the wedding. Tracy reminds him that it's most important for his grandma to be a part of it. Ben is worried about the hints Robert keeps dropping about them moving too fast. It seems more of a warning. Stephanie assures him she doesn't think of their relationship that way. Tracy invites them for drinks so they can check out a band she's interested in for the wedding. Tracy is glad Ben likes punk underground music. She thinks it's much better than Stephanie's choice of techno music. They realize Dave Robinson is a member of this band. He was engaged to Stephanie long ago. Preston calls out to Dave, who is excited to meet Stephanie again. He remembers that her parents have a vacation house in Palm Springs. When Stephanie introduces Ben as her fiancé, Dave jokes about hoping they last longer than he did. That's a good one. He's impressed that Stephanie is a professor at Los Angeles College, but he assumes archaeology and anthropology are the same thing. Preston wonders if they can check if the band is still available. Tracy refuses to have Dave at her wedding when he left her. Since Ben doesn't know this, Stephanie asks for space to talk to him. Stephanie explains that Dave's band asked him to go on a tour in their freshman year. When he proposed, she thought being engaged to a rock star would be cool. She almost dropped out of school to follow him, but her parents talked some sense into her. Dave never came back, but Stephanie is glad she didn't ruin her career because of it. She's happy it happened because it led her to him. Ben is impressed with the 1955 Thunderbird Robert is repairing. Robert jokes about selling it to pay for the weddings. Ben assures him that he and Stephanie plan to pay for their wedding. Robert is offended at the suggestion that he can't pay for his daughter's wedding. That's not going as planned. As Ben fumbles with his words, Robert comments on how Ben didn't ask for his permission before proposing. Ben changes the topic to the car. Robert explains that his father had one, and he found this one online a few years ago. He has been trying to restore it with the original parts, but he's still missing an idler's arm. He lets Ben look at it and is impressed with his knowledge of the parts. Ben explains that his dad was a mechanic and always showed him cool cars. This model of the Thunderbird was always his favorite. Robert offers to let him check out the car's interiors. He even invites Ben to golf with him and Preston the next day. Ben clarifies that he has never played golf before, but Robert assures him he will pick it up. Ben is excited about possibly bonding with Robert. Stephanie always knew he would fit in with her family. When he mentions Robert's permission comment, Stephanie remembers that Robert can be old school. She doesn't think that's a problem because he can be swayed. While Ben praises Eleanor's lemonade, Tracy asks Stephanie to help her with the photographer. Ben excuses himself so he can watch videos about golf. When he leaves, Eleanor admits she likes him. Ben tries to praise Robert's shot at golf like Preston does, even if he doesn't understand anything. He wonders if Preston took Robert's permission before proposing to Tracy. Ben admits he never thought about asking because Stephanie is more modern. Preston asks Ben to give Robert some time to warm up to him. Robert was also tough on Preston in his first 6 years dating Tracy. Robert asks Ben to choose a golf club and laughs when he gets the wrong one. Ben gets more nervous before hitting the ball and doesn't even touch it on 2 tries. Robert suggests he should look at the ball, but Ben ends up throwing the club into the lake. When Robert mentions it was his dad's favorite club, Ben tries to jump into the lake to retrieve it. Robert assures him he got it at a yard sale and asks him not to get worked up. He's impressed that Ben was willing to dive in for him. Tracy is confused because everyone likes a different type of salad for the wedding. Stephanie points out that she would go with coconut shrimp instead of salad for her wedding. Robert insists she needs to have a salad at the wedding since it's traditional. When Ben suggests pot roast for the main course, Robert insists he makes the best one. He refuses to reveal the family recipe to anyone who's not family. Ben claims he will have to tell him soon. Ben excuses himself to attend a call from James, who wants him for the Oxford job. Everyone congratulates him, but Stephanie seems upset. Ben asks Stephanie to take a break from wedding errands so they can talk about his job. After consulting with Tracy, he brings her to the perfect picnic spot. Ben admits he needs to confirm if he's taking the job in 2 weeks. That's falling one day before the wedding. He wonders if she'll come with him. Stephanie admits it'll be a great adventure, but she has worked hard to build her career in Los Angeles. She needs to see it through, so Ben decides not to take the job. Stephanie can't let him do that either because she doesn't want him to miss out on this chance. Ben suggests they enjoy the beautiful day and table this discussion for later. At the 4th of July Jamboree, Stephanie discusses her concerns with Tracy about Ben's new job. When the men join them, they decide to not stress about the wedding or England. They start playing a jelly beans guessing game and write their guesses for the bowl. Ben learns that Tracy and Stephanie are very competitive about the balloon pop. Stephanie starts throwing darts and easily defeats the boys. Tracy also wins the jelly beans contest. Tracy's firm has called her and Preston to the office to handle some paperwork for a client. Preston is already booking tickets to San Francisco, and she assumes it will take around 2 days to sort out the issue. She asks Stephanie to take over the wedding errands till she's back. Becky watches Stephanie admiring a wedding dress and asks if she wants to try one. Stephanie explains that she's there for Tracy's dress, so Becky brings it for her. She suggests Stephanie should try on a dress she likes since she's a bride-to-be too. Stephanie agrees to try one dress, but ends up going through a couple. Eleanor thinks she looks great, but suggests getting coffee with her. Eleanor asks Stephanie not to rush into the marriage until she's sure where Ben's job is taking them. Stephanie knows she's not as careful as the others, but she seems sure about Ben. Eleanor doesn't think 6 months is enough time to get to know each other and doesn't want Stephanie to make the same mistake she did with Dave. Stephanie knows she has grown since then and asks Eleanor to trust her choices. Eleanor agrees that Ben is a good guy too. Tracy informs Stephanie that Preston's grandma can't make it to the wedding after she fell. Tracy is already caught up in work, so she asks Stephanie to check for deliveries with the florist too. Despite Tracy's online order 2 weeks ago, the florist doesn't have a record of it. Their website has just been updated, and the man thinks it'll be tough to deliver the flowers by next week. He tries to check if they can do something. Stephanie starts panicking about the wedding falling apart under her supervision. Ben assures her it's a minor hiccup and asks her not to worry about his job decision either. The man informs them they can't do roses so soon, so Stephanie agrees to get other flowers in their theme colors. Frankie assures Stephanie and Ben that Tracy's cake is coming out great. She asks them to decorate 4th of July tarts with her. When they choose the same color icing, she thinks it's a sign they're meant to be. Robert is very proud of how well Stephanie is handling the wedding and her career. When he claims she deserves the best, she knows he wants to discuss Ben. Robert explains that he bought Eleanor a cheeseburger on their first date when they were teenagers. He didn't think it was special enough for her, but she didn't care. They spent the date talking about the future and realized they needed the same things. On that first date, he knew he wanted to marry her. Years later, when he became a doctor, he took him to a fancy restaurant for their 15th anniversary. She rejected the menu because it didn't have cheeseburgers and took him to the same diner as before. She insisted that the cheeseburger reminded her of the life they had built together. Robert insists a shared vision for the future is essential for spending the rest of one's life with someone. Stephanie wondered why he waited so long to get married to Eleanor after their first date. She points out that just like Robert knew Eleanor was the woman for him, she had known about Ben from their first date. She loves how kind and thoughtful he is, and that he cheers her on. She knows that even decades from now, Ben is the man she wants to share a cheeseburger with. Ben and Eleanor are glad everything seems to be on track for Tracy's wedding. Stephanie gets a call from the photographer and learns that she can't make it since she just delivered a baby. Stephanie doesn't know how she can find a replacement in 4 days. The rest of them are sure this is something only Stephanie can pull off. Ben and Stephanie start making calls to find a replacement, but they are all booked. Ben wonders if Stephanie has tried to contact Ronaldo Socks. He's the best photographer on her list, but Stephanie couldn't get through to him. Ben has found his social media page where he's working on an engagement party in Palm Springs. He feels bad they can't ask him since they're not invited. Stephanie doesn't think that's a problem, so they dress up to crash the party. Being a childhood troublemaker seems to be paying off. She asks Ben to act like he belongs and admits she has done this before. They find Ronaldo clicking some pictures, so Stephanie asks Ben to wait while he makes their way to them. Ben loves that no one has noticed them, even after half an hour. He mentions his job in England, so Stephanie insists she wants him to take it. When Ronaldo asks them for a photo, Stephanie wonders if she can ask a question. She checks his availability in a few days at their vacation home. She admits they don't know the bride or groom at the current party. Ronaldo is almost impressed that someone is stalking him for his services. He agrees to do the wedding for them. Stephanie informs Tracy about getting Ronaldo for the wedding when the other one backs out. Tracy hugs Stephanie and thanks her for taking care of everything. Preston decides to coach Ben in golf so he can get better with Robert. Ben appreciates his help, but Preston admits he's trying to take his mind off things. Preston is eager to marry Tracy, but it doesn't feel right. His grandma and half the family can't make it to the wedding. He wants to share this day with his loved ones, but knows Tracy has her heart set on a wedding at the vacation home. Ben suggests he should talk to Tracy about how he feels. He's sure she will understand if they love each other. Ben realizes he should take his advice and discuss his job with Stephanie. Robert receives a surprise package when he hasn't even ordered anything. He opens it to find the idler's arm he needs for his car. A note from Thomas Larson, Ben's father, asks him to enjoy it. Stephanie reminds Robert she mentioned how thoughtful Ben is. Robert can't believe he would do this for him. Preston and Tracy love the dinner she won for guessing jelly beans in a jar. Preston admits he wants to discuss the wedding with her. Robert thanks Ben for helping him finish work on the car so he could take it out for a spin. He offers to take Ben along, but he needs to discuss something with Stephanie. When he brings up the job topic, she offers to move to England with him. Ben wanted to tell her that he was not taking the job. He admits it's a great opportunity, but it won't mean anything without her. He is touched that she is willing to move for him, but he can't ask her to give up everything she has worked so hard for. Stephanie knows they both need to follow their dreams and suggests they should take a break. Robert is glad he found Ben before he left. Ben explains that Stephanie thought it was best for them to part ways. Robert remembers that Stephanie thought a hole in the wall led to a magical land. He thinks Stephanie doesn't know what's right for her. Ben also knows that Stephanie doesn't realize he can't be happy in his dream job without her. Robert admits he didn't like Ben initially, but has warmed up to him. He can see how much Ben cares for Stephanie. Ben also wishes they could be together. Robert suggests looking at the situation from a different angle to find a solution. He gives Ben his blessings to marry Stephanie whenever needed. Tracy informs Stephanie that they're calling off the wedding. She understands Preston doesn't want to marry without his loved ones. She knows she got so swept up in the wedding planning that she didn't notice how he felt. Tracy admits she was scared to tell Stephanie about this after she worked so hard on the wedding. Stephanie understands that she needs to follow her heart. Stephanie explains what happened with Ben, but Tracy knows they're meant to be together. Stephanie admits she loves him a lot, but thinks they probably rushed into things. She doesn't want to give up something she has worked so hard on for a guy. Tracy points out that Ben is very different from Dave. She wants Stephanie to ask herself what's best for them as a couple. Stephanie returns from the bus stop disappointed. Eleanor asks her to check outside, where Ben is waiting for her. He informs her that he pitched a different idea to James. Ben wants to stay in Los Angeles and work on his research. He has only agreed to go to Oxford once a year to teach his findings for a few weeks. He also wants Stephanie to accompany him when she's free. James has agreed to this proposal. Ben admits he's also willing to consider having more kids with her. Ben wants her for the rest of his life and asks if she'll still marry him. When her answer is still the same, Tracy brings the dress she loved to the store as a gift from Eleanor. She wants Stephanie to have the dream wedding she already planned. Ben calls his parents on the next flight out, and they have a beautiful ceremony. Tracy and Preston have spoken to the realtor and are buying the vacation house from Eleanor and Robert. When Stephanie hears about this, she gets excited too. Tracy admits they're sure about wanting this house in their family. She also wants the wedding in the backyard once Preston's grandma feels better. When Ben asks Stephanie for a dance, she feels overjoyed.